I want to start with a question I've been sitting with for a long time. How did I learn to lead the way that I do? And what is it that shows up for me when things get challenging? So, this isn't just a professional question for me, it's also a personal one. After more than 25 years working in healthcare systems and working closely with leaders across many different roles, I started to notice something that kept repeating. Strong and capable people were not struggling because they didn't care or that they weren't trying hard enough. They were struggling because they were leading in ways that they learned early and often under pressure without ever having a chance to look at those patterns. I've noticed those patterns in myself, and I still catch myself in them. And so understanding this hasn't made my leadership perfect by all means, but has made it feel lighter, clearer, and definitely more intentional. And that's what I want to explore with you today. So before I go any further, I just want to be really clear about something. This video is not about fixing yourself, and it's not about becoming a different kind of leader. It's about understanding the leader that you already are. Because when we understand why we lead the way we do, especially when we're challenged or under pressure, we gain something very important. And that is the power of choice. So over time, I've noticed three common patterns that shape leadership. And that's without us realizing it. So we're often blind to those. So these patterns, of course, made sense when we learned them. They helped us to cope or succeed, of course, at the time, often because of survival. And these often get triggered when things feel urgent, complicated, or uncertain, right? When things can feel scary. But none of these are flaws. Just remember that they are learned responses that helped us to survive in the past. So let's walk through them together. So pattern number one, taking on more than you're meant to hold. So what this looks like is this pattern often shows up as stepping in before things fall apart, quickly fixing things, and handling everything yourself because it feels faster or safer. And a lot of times people, and I've done this in the past, describe this as, if I don't do this myself, it won't get done properly. And so where this comes from is it often develops when you have carried responsibility in your life early, or people relied on you at a young age, and you noticed things always seem to work better when you handled them yourself. And in healthcare especially, this kind of behavior or this strategy gets rewarded. And so over time, this can lead to exhaustion, teams that wait for you to do what you need to do instead of stepping up themselves. And of course, a system that slowly learns more and more to depend on you. And not because you chose that necessarily, because it adapted around you and your patterns. And so noticing this pattern is the beginning of feeling relief from it. So a simple question to sit with is, what am I carrying that was never meant to be mine? And you don't have to change anything yet, just have that awareness. What am I carrying that was never meant to be mine by myself? Pattern number two is rushing decisions to keep things moving. And so this pattern shows up as deciding really fast in order to reduce tension, saying yes before you've had time to think, revisiting decisions later because, oh crap, I wasn't really clear what my answer was on that, right? And often this sounds like, don't worry about it, we'll figure this out as we go. And this can stem from environments where in the past, delays have caused problems, or speed was rewarded, or having that uncertainty felt unsafe. So moving fast became a way to cope. And in terms of how this can affect leadership, this can lead to confusion, always reworking things, and maybe having frustration for you as the leader and as well as for the team. So The truth is, fast decisions aren't always strong decisions. And so just becoming more aware of this sounds like, okay, I'm feeling pressure to decide right now, and I don't have clarity. And one small shift here is that you could give yourself permission to pause. Be curious. Ask one more question just to gain that little more clarity. And then maybe describing what it is that you don't know yet that needs to be considered. And so that pause is very powerful in leadership and helps to slow you down. Pattern number 3, avoiding clear boundaries to keep things smooth. So this shows up as things like over-explaining, softening it when you need to say no, and then things like saying yes, but then you really have resentment for giving that yes later. So here's how it sounds. I don't want to disappoint anyone. So you soften your nose and you say yes when you really should have said no. And this pattern often develops when you have learned in the past that you need to manage other people's feelings. And having a lack of conflict or having that harmony felt super important. And that also being seen as the supportive one was very important. So it mattered to you a lot. So this is why in healthcare, we see this commonly because it can be in those caring professions that we see it more often. And over time in leadership, this can lead to things like blurred expectations, misalignment, and also that silent burnout, that fatigue, and that becoming drained. And so here's the truth. Clear boundaries actually make your work easier, even if they feel uncomfortable at first. So awareness of this would be, I'm explaining because I'm uncomfortable, not because clarity requires it, right? And so having things like shorter sentences, clear limits, and not feeling like you have to justify or explain yourself, right? It's over-explaining is a way to soften things around you, right? So that's also a sign of maybe not feeling comfortable with boundaries. So that's the 3 patterns that we talked about today. So I'll quickly go through those. Number 1, taking on more than you were meant to hold. So letting things pile on, being excessively strong, holding everything, even though you really shouldn't be carrying that much by yourself. Pattern number 2, rushing decisions to keep things moving. And this leads to regretting your decisions, saying yes when you really meant no, And pattern number 3 is avoiding clear boundaries to try to minimize conflict, right? And so this is very draining because you're left managing other people's emotions, which is draining. And then you can start to feel that being out of alignment and start to get really tired. So here's the thing. I want to end with this. So I'm not interested in showing people the way for perfect leadership because there is no such a thing. What I'm interested in leadership where we become self-aware, when we really understand ourselves. This is what happens. You start to gain choice, you reduce unnecessary pressure, and leadership becomes easier and more sustainable, right? And we have to remember something. These patterns did not come from nowhere. They came from our real life experiences. So if this way of thinking resonates with you, you're welcome to go deeper with me because I explore these ideas and patterns much deeper in my book, Rooted to Rise. And if you choose to pre-purchase this book, and it's up for pre-sale right now, you'll also get a Kickstart audio program on transformational leadership And I will also invite you into the writing journey as I edit and have aha moments on each chapter. So I will share with you the insights and lessons and real-time reflections, especially how these patterns show up in healthcare systems, specifically because that is where my own work has been for over 25 years. So of course, there's no rush. This is just an open invitation for you. And I want to thank you for being here. And if this video helped you to notice something about your own leadership, even if it's just one small thing, then it's creating that little bit of awareness for you and it's doing its job. Thank you for being here. Be sure to click the bell, subscribe, and I will see you on the next video.